to tell you what.
Okay, just so I'm sure, really? Are you just trying to piss me off, or is that really how you say that?
There's no other way to put it, folks. Shit's getting real out there. And there's no signs that it's going to slow down or stop anytime soon. As per usual, folks, things happen fast in the world, and while we may start our walk across the conversational countryside in one place, we could end up anywhere, and that's precisely what happened here in the last week or so. Welcome to the Last Stand podcast. I am your purveyor of patriotism, your less than humble host, Wild Bill of the Wild Bill fame, bringing to you the righteous rhetoric for your reception from the Carolina Command Center right here down on the ground in the good old USA. Folks, as I promised, I am delivering the video segment of the show for January. And although I wanted to talk about local issues, our school system, our school board, the state of our schools, pretend Republicans, Democrats infiltrating our local political parties and all of that, I felt like I needed to talk about this. Of course, I'm talking about the ICE agent shooting in Minnesota, in Minneapolis there. I want to talk about what the response has been, what the left's reaction has been, and in light of what is going on now, and in light of what the government is doing right now, I kind of want to render my opinion on what I think the government's response should be, and what it is up to this point. Now, obviously, with what happened, there's truth, and then there's bullshit, and we're going to talk about both. From my experience and perspective here in the last week, there's a hell of a lot of people out there that just don't give a fat baby's ass about the truth. But there's a hell of a lot of people out there that do, you included. So we're going to talk about it. Without any further delay, without any further ado, let's hit it. Welcome to yet another awesome episode of the Last Stand podcast, folks. Welcome to a few of you who are new, and you know who you are. You who are new to the show. Ladies and gentlemen, like I said, we're going to talk about the Minnesota tragedy, the shooting death of Renee Good, involving an ICE agent there in Minneapolis. Now, folks, if you've listened to me before, you can guess exactly how I'm going to come down on this, okay? Those of you who are new and are listening now, you've got an idea of how I'm going to come down on this. And for you leftist retards out there that I've been sparring with over the last week, you're about to lose your minds, as per usual, right? As you all know, folks, on January 7th, 2026, ICE Watch activist Renee Good was shot by ICE agent Jonathan Ross, and the whole thing was caught on video. The shooting captured the attention and outrage of the left. And honestly, it captured the attention of the entire country. And in terms of the Democrat left, of course, this attention and outrage was predictable. Folks, they plan for things like this, okay? They plan their immediate responses to it. And, they've been waiting for something like this to happen, okay? I mean, it wasn't a day that went by and you had hundreds of people, if not thousands of people, with professional signage that they had made, and hundreds and thousands of people that were mobilized to various cities, predictably in blue states, blue cities, to include Minneapolis. And these people were fired up, folks. And like I said, they were waiting for it, okay? But, honestly, the rest of the country was also outraged by this thing. And, over the course of a week, you've seen people come down on one side of this or the other. It's that, you hear a lot of people talking about how we're so polarized. Well, sometimes the truth or what we see, it comes down to truth or bullshit. You know what I mean? Truth or not truth. And that's what we're going to talk about today. Now, we've seen this coming, all right? We have to expect this kind of thing because this is what the left has chosen to make their fight on. Right? This is the hill that they're going to die on. This whole illegal alien thing. And of course, you throw in the fraud investigation that's going on in Minnesota, and again, it's exposing these people for what and who they are. We're going to have to expect this kind of thing to happen from time to time now if things don't change, because I'm telling you, this is not going to be the last time that we're going to see something like this happen. I fear that we're going to see this again at some point in the future. So, what happened? Well, to understand what happened and how it happened, and what's led to the fraud investigation, and then eventually this protestation against ICE and all of that, we have to go all the way back to the border crisis. Okay, the border crisis of the Biden administration. And honestly, we have to go back to the Bush administration. We have to go back to the Obama administration. Folks, we all know that the Biden administration was AWOL on the border, for the most part. But, and I've intimated this before, I don't think they were completely AWOL. I think it was part of their plan, to throw this border wide open for those 4 years that Otto Penn was in office. It was part of their plan to flood the United States with illegals and foreigners in an effort to rebuild and replace their voting constituency, the voting base. Because, quite frankly, the Democrats have increasingly lost power since Trump took office, going all the way back to 2016. And then, of course, we have that 4-year gap in between, and then Trump gets back into office in 2025. The Democrats have lost their grip on power and control and money, and it's because Democrat policies have been shown to be corrupt and really repulsive to American virtue and principles. And a lot of people were making an exodus from the Democrat Party. You had record numbers becoming Republicans. Now, there's a double-edged sword there for that, and I'm not going to get into that right now, but I think you know what I'm talking about. You had a lot of people leave the Democrat Party for unaffiliated voters, independent voters, independent parties, and things like that. But the goal for the Democrat Party is to claw back their power and control. And part of that has to do with the money that they get, right? So that's where the fraud investigations come in. We had Doge at the beginning of the administration that found a lot of federal fraud out there, money that was being misallocated, misused, and then everybody said, well, when Doge didn't find the fraud that was going on in Minnesota. No, it was the DOJ that actually found it. But you can thank Doge for laying the groundwork for it. So, anyway, I digress here. Like I said, folks, the Democrat Party is in an uproar. Their supporters are in an uproar because they know that they're losing power. All right, they've been losing power, and in terms of the illegal aliens, they had a plan that they were trying to effect here, and that was to replace the voting public. But if they were going to throw these border doors wide open, they had to have a scheme, right? Part of that scheme involved taking advantage of the illegal alien and imported populations of the country. This included the Somali population in Minnesota. The left had been for years and decades. They've been offering what I characterize as bribes to these imported foreigners and these illegal aliens, bribes, and allowing them to take advantage of welfare programs, business programs, banking advantages and programs, that would have, ultimately it would enrich the Somali population in Minnesota. And in return, these Somalis and illegal aliens and foreign populations, they would always back the Democrat ticket. Okay, like I said, these were this was fraud on a grand scale. It was bribe on a grand scale. And in doing all of this, this would ensure that no Republican would ever hold a majority in the state of Minnesota. Now, like I said, folks, this didn't happen overnight. It's been decades in the making, years in development by the Democrat Party to increase these fraudulent programs to Somali immigrants and illegal aliens. Today, folks, there are over 100,000, if not more. There's over 100,000 Somalis in Minnesota. Many of them are illegally here, but there's many here that have been here for 10 years or more. But here's where the statistics get really crazy, folks, and you'll understand why we were investigating fraud in the state of Minnesota. 81 to 85% of these Somali immigrants here and illegals here are on some type of welfare. Okay, they're receiving federal tax dollars and state tax dollars to own and operate daycare centers, insurance companies, Medicaid companies, or Medicaid-connected companies, transportation companies, Feeding Our Future programs, food programs. All these Democrat-led programs and other businesses, they've been bilking the federal government to the tune of $9 billion. Now, I told you in the first episode of the podcast that, in fact, it's Minnesota and military interventions. I talk about this, and I say in that episode that it's going to be more than $9 billion, folks. It's going to be massive. The scope of the investigation now reveals that we're looking at possibly $20 million or $20 billion in fraud. It's massive, folks. Now, you'll remember that in 2024, Donald Trump was elected. He took office in 2025, and one of the things that he had promised to go after was fraud. Another promise that he made was to deport all of the illegal aliens in the country. And from day one, the administration's been making good on that promise. They've been just going gangbusters in this. That's part of the fury that you get from the Democrat left. They can't believe that Donald Trump and immigration, ICE, CBP, they can't believe that he's been so successful in not only shutting the border down, but also in going after these illegal aliens in this country. It's just blown their mind, and it's frustrated them and caused them to just lose their shit. Operations to go after illegal aliens in the Trump administration were initiated. And as anyone could have guessed here, these two things, this fraud and the illegal immigration thing, they crossed over. They bumped into each other. Federal investigators found that there was an inordinate amount of fraud in the state of Minnesota. ICE and Immigration Enforcement, DHS, also found that there was a hell of a lot of illegal aliens located in Minnesota, Minneapolis, to be more specific. And the fraud they found was specific to one demographic here. Really, it just gets specific. The Somali population in Minneapolis in the state of Minnesota. Investigators revealed that there was suspected fraud in Minnesota to the tune of $9 billion in welfare fraud, child daycare business fraud, all those programs that I talked about. And the majority of the fraud was suspected of being committed by Somali recipients or Somali daycare center owners and operators. In their investigation, they found, like I said, 85% of the welfare recipient population were Somali. Of the daycares that were owned and operated by Somalis in Minneapolis, 50 to 100 daycares are owned and run by Somalis. These welfare programs and the daycare programs not only received state taxpayer money, but they also received a significant amount of federal tax dollars. The annual budgets for these programs are somewhere around $190 million annually for the child care programs, $140 million annually for welfare programs like SNAP and things like that, food programs. Like I said, it's a hell of a lot more than that. We're looking at about $20 billion, okay? But according to the information here, that's kind of the average annual spending for these programs. Now, while these things were being investigated under the Trump administration, there was a video that went absolutely viral. Video by independent journalist Nick Shirley. His video brought renewed attention to the fraud perpetrated by the Somali population and to the state government under Tim Walz and to the Minneapolis government under Jacob Frey. Jacob Fry. I keep calling him Frey. It's Small Fry. Jacob Small Fry Fry. I keep wanting to say Frey. Why do I do that? But this video also brought a lot of heat to Ilhan Omar, who happens to be the congressional representative of District 5 in Minnesota, part of Minneapolis. She is, folks, the supreme Somali grifter and hater of America in state and national government, going all the way back to 2017. You'll recall that Ilhan Omar is part of the squad, and she's a constant pain in our asses, okay? She's been that way since she's gotten here. You really ought to look at her history, folks, if you haven't done it before. It's just amazing. And the allegations against her in terms of how she got here and what she's been doing in terms of the fraud in Minnesota, those allegations are coming out, and it's starting to, I think it's going to burn her ass is what I think it's going to do. But, you know, yeah, she's a traitor in my opinion. She's a criminal. At least I think that's what's going to be borne out in the facts from this fraud investigation. Honestly, folks, I don't know what she's doing here in the country. It really wouldn't hurt my feelings one bit if we went ahead and just said, yeah, go home. Back to Somalia. Now, Nick Shirley's video. The Democrats, when these allegations of fraud were coming out, the Democrats had claimed and asserted that there's no fraud going on. We were all conspiracy theorists. We were all full of shit. But as per usual, these kind of claims, they kind of get knocked down. Nick Shirley's video proved that those claims were bullshit. Then you got the illegal alien component to Minnesota's problems. And here recently, you've got the temporary protected status of Somalis that I think have been revoked by Donald Trump. But the connection of this criminal fraud thing in Minnesota leading to the Somali community in the state, you've got this whole thing just exploding with the illegal alien component in Minnesota. ICE, under DHS Secretary Kristi Noem and ICE Director Todd Lyons, in cooperation with Tom Homan, as Borders are, operations that have swept the country in order to rid the United States of the 20-plus million illegal aliens that were let in during these 4 years of the Biden administration. You've got these things that are just coming to a head, and they're just exploding. The viral video from Nick Shirley prompted renewed interest in not only the fraud investigations, but also renewed interest in efforts by ICE to capture and deport the illegals who were perpetrating these crimes in the state. And like I said, these two things just collided and exploded. Now, as you know, the resistance movement by Antifa, anti-American groups and individuals, leftist Democrats, anti-Trump forces, the whole gambit, they just went apoplectic, and they just exploded and increased their activity because of all this. The rhetoric that was thrown out there by people like Jacob Fry, Tim Walz, only stoked the fires of resistance and activism, and in my opinion, put us on a path, in Minnesota at least, the path to what I would consider to be a rebellion against the federal government and federal law.
Donald Trump's modern-day Gestapo is scooping folks up off the streets. They're in unmarked vans, wearing masks, being shipped off to foreign torture dungeons. No chance to mount a defense, not even a chance to kiss a loved one goodbye, just grabbed up by masked agents, shoved into those vans, and disappeared.
When you compare the old films of the Gestapo grabbing people off the streets of Poland, and you compare them to those nondescript thugs who grabbed that student, that graduated student, it does look like a Gestapo operation.
Because if we just roll this clock on the wall back 75 years, we'd be looking at a time in Nazi Germany where people ran around with signs like this new ICE sign that says, "Report all foreign invaders to ICE," with Uncle Sam there holding up the sign. This could have been a Gestapo member 75 years ago. "Report all Jews."
They are not here to cause safety in this city. What they are doing is not to provide safety in America. What they are doing is causing chaos and distrust. They're ripping families apart. They're sowing chaos on our streets. And in this case, quite literally killing people. So they are already trying to spin this as an action of self-defense. Having seen the video of myself, I want to tell everybody directly, that is bullshit. This was an agent recklessly using power that resulted in somebody dying, getting killed. To ICE, get the fuck out of Minneapolis. We do not want you here. Your stated reason for being in this city is to create some kind of safety, and you are doing exactly the opposite. People are being hurt. Families are being ripped apart. Long-term Minneapolis residents that have contributed so greatly to our city, to our culture, to our economy are being terrorized, and now somebody is dead.
This is the kind of rhetoric that these people have been throwing out there for a long time now, and it's thrown gas on the fire, especially after this shooting incident. If you've paid attention, folks, since this administration has been doing their jobs and doing their jobs effectively, the resistance, the activism, the violence that's been perpetrated by the left it's been relentless, folks, and it's only increased in intensity here. Like I said, especially after this shooting, let's look at the violence that the left has committed to engaging in. You had the assassination of Charlie Kirk, the attempted assassination of ICE agents in Dallas, Texas. You've had insurrectionary behavior and action by the leftists, attacking ICE, attacking their facilities, throwing rocks at their vehicles, attempting to bum rush facilities, attempting to dox and kill ICE agents. It was the left that began this renewed effort to engage in violence and this renewed effort to kill anyone associated with the MAGA movement, Christianity, the Trump supporters, ICE. They consistently and increasingly go after ICE, impede and assault them. They assault their agents. They confront their agents. I mean, and it's actually getting worse, folks. It's still going on. And because states like Minnesota and Minneapolis do nothing to enforce law and restore law and order in these places, these people just keep getting more violent. And the language that the left is using throughout this whole thing, the characterizations that they make about ICE, it's led to this, folks. Their rhetoric and their language have directly led to this tragic incident, this shooting incident involving this ICE agent and Renee Good. It's a predictable outcome, though. I mean, if you can look ahead, this was predictable. It was preventable, but it was predictable. And this predictable outcome of all this rhetoric and all of this violence against federal law, I would characterize this as the state of Minnesota and other states and other cities. I think they're in a state of rebellion against the federal government and enforcing federal law, which is going to lead us to some other things, to include the Insurrection Act of 1807. Now, you'll notice that Small Fry, he makes a reference to the illegal aliens and the Somali population in that clip, that last clip. Folks, there's two things that they desperately want here. They want the federal government out of Minnesota to stop the ICE operations in that state from removing the illegal aliens, because the illegal aliens are the mechanisms for defrauding the state and federal governments out of welfare funding. They want the federal government, the investigators investigating the fraud in the state of Minnesota, they want them out of the state so they can continue these fraudulent schemes. They're losing their asses here, all right? And incidentally, the illegal populations in that state and states across the country, these illegal aliens that are crowded into these cities and brought into these states, they have an effect on the representation of your state in Congress. Deporting these illegal aliens are going to have a direct effect on the kind of representation that you have in your country and in your state. And it all goes back, like I said, to control. And part of that control is through the money that they are fraudulently getting using these illegal aliens and these criminal Somalis that's how they get their money, right? So, back to what we were talking about. As many of you have seen already, probably 1,000 times by now, from multiple videos that have been taken by people who were there that day, and from the ICE agent himself, Renee Good and her partner, Becca Good, as well as a multitude of other individuals that are opposed to ICE, had been following, harassing, blocking their vehicles, blocking ICE vehicles, confronting ICE agents, the whole schmear. All morning, they'd been doing it. All day, they'd been doing it. They'd been doing it for days. Eventually, Renee Good and her partner positioned their vehicle in a way that would end up blocking ICE vehicles from travel. This was on Portland Avenue in Minneapolis. Now, they'd been, like I said, they've been doing this all morning. Okay, and from what I understand, folks, ICE agents that were there that day had tried to remove Renee Good's vehicle from the situation earlier that morning. As I understand it, they had pursued Renee Good and her partner for constantly impeding traffic and impeding ICE. They had lost sight of her and then eventually caught up to her again here where the shooting took place on Portland Avenue. But anyway, so that's the gist of how we get to that and how we get to the incident. But let me play you the video or the videos. I'm going to look through them and see which ones are the best videos. There's a lot of them out there. There are like 5 primary videos that are out there, and there's plenty of video out there that's been broken down. Like I said on the show, People have the benefit of being able to take these videos and break them down, slow down the video, freeze it frame by frame. There's a hell of a lot of videos out there that are doing that. But let me play you the video in its entirety as best I can, and then we'll move on to what's happened after and what I think needs to happen in terms of the Insurrection Act of 1807. So here we have the front angle from a distance here. You can see where Renee Good's partner is approaching the passenger side door. You can also see where the agent walks from his vehicle to the front of Good's vehicle in front of the SUV. Renee Good is already throwing the vehicle into reverse. She then puts it into forward drive and starts to take off. Now, it's a little difficult to see, but the agent is definitely in front of the vehicle. Then you have the Fox News video. And I apologize for the lack of sound here, but it's impossible to find the actual raw footage without, some commentator talking over everything and other noise. When Fox News showed this video, they left the sound out, so that's why it's here. It's a really good camera angle to see how this whole thing goes down. After the other agent exits the Nissan, he immediately tells Renee Good to get out of the vehicle as he approaches her SUV. It's here that I believe that Renee and her partner know that the jig's up, okay? She's going to be arrested. She throws the vehicle in reverse, then immediately throws it back into forward drive to evade the arrest. Backing up effectively lines her vehicle up with Agent Ross, who's in front of the vehicle. And then as she moves forward, she hits Agent Ross. Now, two things here. One, she's willing to ram an agent in order to evade arrest. Two, she was willing to drag another agent who was attempting to extract her from the vehicle. Now, in the video with sound, when you find it, you can hear Becca Good yell, "Drive, baby, drive." Well, Renee Good was already in the process of doing just that. She didn't become confused by what others say were conflicting orders. You had her saying, "Drive, baby, drive," but you had law enforcement telling her to get out of the vehicle. And first and foremost, you follow the lawful order of the law enforcement agent. You don't listen to your accomplice. Renee Good hits the agent here, Agent Ross. He's already heard this engine rev. She's already put it into drive, heard the engine rev. It starts to move forward, slips a little, but it lurches forward. At this time, and this has all happened simultaneously, he draws his weapon, she lurches forward, starts to take off, fixing to ram him, and that's when he fires his weapon. Then you got another angle from Fox. This one's a little quick and difficult to make anything out, but it does show Renee Good's vehicle impacting with another vehicle after the shooting. Then there's the slowed footage that shows where the agent is actually rammed, followed by the same video at regular speed. After the left called this guy a murderer, after Jacob Fry, Small Fry, said that the agent wasn't hit, that was bullshit, and then later, when he's confronted with this next video, he said he wasn't hit that hard. The agent point of view video is released. And he was definitely hit, folks. Period. And incidentally, he later went to the hospital where the doctors said that he actually suffered some internal bleeding here. Of course, it was nothing life-threatening, but so much for Fry's refrigerator analogy.
That's number one. You see the agent who was in front of that vehicle. Here's number two. Let's watch this. There's no audio on this, so just watch quiet as we watch this unfold as well. That second one harder to see. It's from across the street. We have a third video that we also are cleared to use now as well. Let's take a look at this one from a higher angle. And you see this is the car after the shooting as it plows into two cars that were parked.
And it happens so fast that it's hard to see what takes place in this particular video, but that is the front angle, and then we have also obtained some video from behind. Okay, they're approaching.
Yeah,
okay.
This is ICE agents just pulling up here. The vehicle is
Lower
right there.
And it happens so fast that it's hard to see what takes place.
So here's the video of the Agent POV video, Agent Ross's video that he was taking with his cell phone. Let's just listen in on this.
I'm not mad at you. Show your face. I'm not mad at you. It's okay. We don't change our plates every morning, just so you know. It'll be the same plate when you come talk to us later. That's fine. U.S. citizen. You want to come at us? You want to come at us? I say go get yourself some lunch, big boy. Go ahead.
Out of the car. Get out of the fucking car. Get out of the car.
Oh!
ICE watchers and neighbors were recording as a confrontation between agents and a protester was quickly unfolding. Now let's take a closer look. Watch as agents approach the driver. The 37-year-old woman begins backing up as one agent has his hand on the door handle of the vehicle and the other arm appears to be reaching inside through the car window. At the same time, there is an agent on the front left corner of that SUV. That is the agent who fires his gun. First, it appears to be through the windshield, the following two shots through the open window. But there is another angle from the front of the SUV. It is the angle President Donald Trump refers to on social media when he defends the ICE agent's actions. In it, you see the agent on the front left corner of the SUV. And in the chaos, it does appear to show that agent being hit by that SUV. The agent then fires 3 times, reportedly hitting the woman in the face. The driver then crashes into 2 parked cars. ICE is claiming self-defense that the woman was using her car as a weapon.
We don't change our plates every morning, just so you know. It'll be the same plate when you come talk to us later. That's fine. U.S. citizen, former fucking president. You want to come at us? You want to come at us? I say go get yourself some lunch, big boy. Go ahead.
Out of the car. Get out of the fucking car. Get out of the car.
Oh!
Folks, this whole shooting is tragic. But I got to tell you, after watching the videos, after listening to the rhetoric, watching the videos, being able to see with my own eyes what actually happened, taking everything in its entirety, knowing what these people have been doing, I got to tell you, I have zero sympathy for people who willingly and purposefully take actions that put the lives of our law enforcement in jeopardy. And I have zero sympathy for these people when their dangerous and willful actions cause them to be the victim of deadly force. I have zero sympathy for people that try to kill, whether that's their primary intention or not. It doesn't matter. Renee Good had zero compunction about mowing through this federal agent. Zero problems with it because she did it. Okay, she knew she would have to go through that agent to evade arrest. Okay, I have zero sympathy for people that do that sort of thing. Using deadly force, putting law enforcement at risk of death or serious injury. I have zero sympathy for these people that end up dead because of their actions, okay? The intent's clear, folks. The willful disregard is clear. And, you know, going through an investigation, I think it was a pretty short investigation. I mean, the evidence is there for everybody to see. The only perspective that's relevant, if you're to go back and forth on this whole thing and what happened, the only perspective that's relevant here is that of the officer. Did he feel that his life was in danger? Did he feel like he could either suffer serious injury or death? I think it's clear. Did he feel like he had no other recourse than to stop deadly force, using deadly force? I think it's clear. The answer is clear because the evidence is clear. And the requirements of the law and the way the law looks at this, it's clear. So, that's period dash dot. That's it. It's the end of story. Now, in the wake of this incident, you had riots in the streets in Minneapolis. You still have them going on today. And I'm going to tell you, folks, I feel bad for the Minneapolis police. Just a couple of days ago, rioters and thugs stormed hotels looking for ICE agents to hurt or kill. And local law enforcement finally had to be dispatched to get some control out there, to restore some law and order out there. And wouldn't you know it, folks, Minnesota local cops, Minneapolis local cops, they were chased out. They were run off by the mob. They ran. They took off. These people don't care, folks. This is what they do. They don't care about law and order. They don't care about law enforcement. They don't care about any of that. These people are completely unhinged and unreasonable. And they're doing everything that they can to ignite violence in the streets, and they're doing it, and violence against the federal government agencies enforcing federal law. You know, in terms of the riots that are happening in Minneapolis and other states that we've seen, I saw a report where they tried this shit in Texas, and Greg Abbott said, "No, this ain't Minnesota," and he crushed that pretty quick. Some people say, because of the, you know, how these riots are going and how this violence is escalating, some people say that Trump ought to invoke the Insurrection Act. Josh Harrington of Rowan County, who does they're video blurbs. I don't know if he's got a podcast like mine, but he does make video segments and posts them on social media. He made the following post, and I'm going to read it to you because getting into this Insurrection Act, you know, if I were to go through the Insurrection Act in its entirety and make that a thing, I could add another hour to this video. And it's hard enough as it is to upload these videos onto any platform. The Insurrection Act. Harrington writes, there is a law in the books called the Insurrection Act of 1807, and yes, it's very real. It allows the President of the United States to deploy the U.S. military inside the United States, federalize National Guard units, use them to suppress riots, insurrection, and armed rebellion, restore law and order and constitutional authority, and normally the military wouldn't be used for domestic law enforcement. And that's the reason for that is the Posse Comitatus Act. But the Insurrection Act is the exception to this. The Insurrection Act exists for one reason. When states, well, for several, actually, he lists them. When states refuse to enforce the law, or can't enforce the law, I would add, when politicians allow chaos to reign, certainly Tim Walz and Jacob Smallfry are certainly allowing that to happen. When mobs override civil authority, which clearly happened in Minneapolis, and when the country starts to come apart at the seams. I don't know if I don't know if the country is coming apart at the seams because of this, but I can't disagree with him. I think I know what he's trying to convey here. I mean, this incident here has the entire country at odds with each other, and it doesn't normally mean that there's going to be some sort of physical violence between the two opinions on this. But I know what he's trying to convey here. He goes on to write, "This law is what's used when the system is failing and order must be restored. Let me be very clear. This isn't about politics. This isn't about left or right. This is about whether a nation is allowed to survive." Well, I agree with that. "A republic can't function if laws are optional to one side or the other." Well, that's true. "A country can't exist if violence rules the streets." That's also true. "And a government that refuses to enforce the law forfeits its legitimacy." Yep. The Insurrection Act isn't tyranny, folks. It's the emergency brake. And right now, a lot of Americans are starting to notice that the car is heading for a cliff. I don't disagree with any of that. And as far as the Insurrection Act goes, I mean, if you watched video that was uploaded and shared by mainstream news media out there, Nick Shorter, who's an indie news guy out there, he took a video segment last night. These so-called protesters broke into ICE vehicles and stole federal government weapons and ammunition and other equipment. These so-called protesters that Tim Walz and Small Fry and Ellison, the AG, and all these other Democrat leftists out there want to protect, these people transitioned from so-called protesters, which I don't believe they ever were, and they transitioned into full-form insurrectionists. So I absolutely believe that the Insurrection Act of 1807 absolutely applies now. Okay, if it didn't before, it damn sure does now. Because now they've got weapons of the federal government. And we know what their intent is. Folks, this country's being torn apart in a lot of places, okay? And it's being torn apart by the Democrat Party, the organizations that they support. I mean, one of the organizations that's out there doing its underhanded and insurrection-y thing out there is the organization called the Revolutionary Communists of America. That's a real thing, folks. I'm not going to get into that whole organization right now, but it's a real thing. And these people, among others out there, like the Islamists, Antifa, these people are real, folks. These organizations are real, and they're working tirelessly to destroy this republic. And we're too damn close to a kind of conflict that we really don't want any part of here. But these groups and these individuals, they're trying like hell to make it happen, folks. The thing here is, the damnable thing is, we're going to have to decide whether or not some things are worth the fight. I used to say that a lot of things have to happen in order for an actual legitimate civil war takes place. But I'm going to tell you, with everything that's been going on here, especially in Minnesota, and some of your other states, but especially in Minnesota, it only takes one moment, folks, for people to finally break. And, at that point, they decide what side they're going to be on. It's not cool. It ain't nice, but it's reality. And that's what we're facing here. And God help us if we get to that point where we have to make that kind of a decision. Now, the Insurrection Act of 1807, I'll just share with you two provisions of it. first of all, you have to understand sanctuary state law is unconstitutional, folks. Okay, and honestly, that's what's allowed for a lot of this illegal alien thing and a lot of fraud to take place in states like Minnesota. These states, Minnesota, California, Pennsylvania, Oregon, and other states that are following these sanctuary laws, right now there's a lot of places, a lot of blue cities that are in an open state of rebellion, I would call it. And it's transitioned into actual insurrection because now they got weapons from the federal government. But two provisions of the Insurrection Act of 1807, 10 U.S. Code, Section 253, failure to protect constitutional rights. Well, that's absolutely happening. Regular people in Minnesota and Minneapolis right now, businesses, hotels, their constitutional rights are being violated daily, hourly. This section of U.S. Code allows the president to intervene without a governor's request if domestic violence or unlawful combinations deprive citizens of their constitutional rights, and state authorities are unable to, fail, or refuse to protect them. Well, we've seen that. We've seen all of it. I would say that Minneapolis, Minnesota, it's a perfect example of this section. Okay, they've failed to protect the constitutional rights of others. They're unable to, and quite honestly, they've refused to. Then you got 10 U.S. Code 252, impracticability of enforcing federal law. The president can act unilaterally if they determine that unlawful obstructions or rebellion make it impracticable to enforce federal laws through ordinary judicial proceedings. With increased confrontation, obstruction, and violence, you've got this condition here. Okay, I think that section's satisfied. Fomenting insurrection or rebellion against the United States government is a serious federal felony under 18 U.S. Code Section 2383, punishable by up to 10 years in prison and permanent disqualification from holding any office under the United States. I think Tim Walz and Small Fry, I think they're in violation of this code now. Especially with Tim Walz's latest statement out there in the mainstream news. Now, I'm no legal expert, folks. I'm not an attorney, but I can read. Okay, I strongly believe that Tim Walz in Minnesota has violated these codes. I think Small Fry has violated these codes. Now, Tim Walz just put out a statement. I'm gonna have to go find it and listen to what he said. But for a little while there, he was walking some of his rhetoric back by telling Minneapolis rioters and protesters to stay off the streets. But he's crossed the line, folks, as did others in other states. Local police has violated these codes in their incitement and direct challenge to the federal government in enforcing federal law. You'll remember Sheriff Rochelle Bilal that I talk about in my broadcast podcast. She's like, you don't want this smoke, federal government. I'll bring it to you. It's complete clown shoes. These agitators and these officials have violated all these things, folks, and yet we have no challenges to it. We have no arrests, no charges, and people are going to continue to get hurt, folks. I mean, it's already happening. I'm not even talking about the second ICE agent shooting that took place. Now, this was what, last night, yesterday? They were going after a illegal alien, and the illegal alien and two others from out of nowhere I guess, anti-ICE individuals in the neighborhood. They attacked this ICE agent, and the ICE agent had to shoot, and he shot the illegal alien in the leg. But that's a whole story that's still developing. Minneapolis is a complete shit show. All right, and you know that's true when these agitators run local law enforcement right out of town. The bottom line is this, folks. These assholes are going after federal agents, okay? They're seeking them out, and they're looking to seriously hurt these people or kill them. Like I said earlier, I mean, there are death threats out there, overt death threats to federal agents, to federal law enforcement, and specifically ICE agents trying to enforce federal immigration law. At this point, folks, if these dipshits want to go out there and try to harm a federal ICE agent doing their job, and they get smoked for their effort, well, I got zero sympathy. It's consequences. The bottom line is this, folks. For people who continue to insist that Renee Good was merely asserting her right to protest, that she wasn't doing anything wrong, that she wasn't being extreme in any way, let me correct you on this, okay? You can protest. There's nothing that says that you can't protest. You know, the characterizations of federal law enforcement in this Trump administration, the characterizations like Gestapo and Nazis, kings, things like that. Let me tell you something. If any of that were true, you wouldn't be on the street getting into these ICE agents' face. They would just mow you down. So you can protest peacefully. What you can't do without consequence is impede law enforcement from doing law enforcement things. You can't defy lawful orders from law enforcement. You're not free to plow through a federal law enforcement agent in an effort to avoid arrest, you know, which is exactly what Renee Good was trying to do. I don't care what anybody says. That's what she was trying to do. That's what ICE Watch trains them to do. Okay? You know, and let's remember, folks, the federal agents here that day, they were chasing Renee Good's vehicle earlier. They lost sight of her and then caught back up to her. So she'd been doing this all morning, and they were trying to remove her from the situation from, you know, earlier that day. You know, what she did here was extreme and extremely dangerous, not only to her, but to the federal law enforcement agent. Folks, this woman, Renee Good, and her partner were part of an organization that employs criminal and terrorist tactics to impede, to assault, and place federal law enforcement at risk of serious injury or death. And we saw it. And unfortunately, Renee Good was killed for it. ICE Watch, it is an extreme leftist activist organization, folks. You can see it in their website. You can see it in their printed instructionals. They're not about protesting peacefully here, okay? They're teaching their people to confront federal agents and to draw them into physical confrontations. That's what they're doing, you know? And Renee Good and her partner, they knew what they were doing. They'd been doing it all day. She lined her vehicle up with the federal law enforcement agent and plowed through this guy to avoid arrest. Okay? And since there are those on the left that are posting DOJ policies and federal law regarding shooting into or stepping into the way of a moving vehicle and other such drivel selectively to make a point, DOJ, federal law, legal precedent, the totality of the circumstances here in this particular case, state law, they all support the lawful action of this agent. The fact that you don't recognize that or post any of that, or disregard it or ignore it or refute it, that tells me everything we need to know about your intent and your positions in this matter. And that's it. You can think what you want. You can characterize it however you want, but you're going to continue to be wrong, okay? And the facts bear this out, folks. And if you refuse to acknowledge these facts, let me tell you where you can find irrefutable facts. You can find them at the grave of Renee Good. Folks, I've been saying it for years. Our country's in conflict. One half of the country is in conflict with roughly the other half of the country. And from my perspective, after years of observation and formulation and experience and knowledge of where we were, where we are, where we ought to strive to be, folks, we've done this to ourselves. We've allowed this whole conflict to get this far, and now we're having to clean it up. You know, you've got one ideological movement versus another here. And it would seem that what we should consider a movement that seeks to subvert American principles, virtues, faith, our unity, the fabric of the American Republic, this movement's gained more than a foothold in this country. It's taken real estate, folks, and it refuses to give any of it back. We have in our midst, among the people, those who are preparing to fight against us for a system, for a kind of religion that would have us kneel at the altar of chaos and tyranny, that would have us betray everything that this country believed in, stood for, and fought for. To give in to this subversive ideological movement and political party, to give in for the sake of peace and common ground, is to give in to a people and a system that will never be satisfied and will never be at peace. Now, I loathe saying this, but as it is, it's got to be said, folks. The people in the party that brought us this conflict, that brought us disparity, brought us this pain, the people who seditiously infected our children with every detestable idea and indulgence and dependence in this country, the people who have attempted to eradicate our faith, our freedom, they've revealed themselves, folks. They see no need to hide anymore. They see no need to reflect on what this country is meant to be, and we see them for who and what they are. We can see who and what they are, and for a long time, watching all of this happen over the years, it seems like we were paralyzed with the increments of their subversiveness and their depravity, their words, their actions, and it's like we watched in disbelief, as they celebrated their depravity and their evil intent, just as they did when Charlie Kirk was killed. Now, I believe that when that happened, when Charlie Kirk was killed, I think we were woken up. I think we kind of reawakened at that moment. Just as we did during 2020 and COVID, we woke up, and now our resolve becomes clear, and our promise to ourselves, our country, the future of our republic, it takes on new meaning, folks. Right now, down on the ground in the good old USA, these people are going to do everything they can to draw us into this fight, draw us into bloodshed. And while there's a time and a place for that possibility, for now, we have to look at everything that's happened to us and around us and realize that there is a mechanism, there is a way to change course from this madness, from the evil that's taking place here in this country. We have to obligate ourselves to understanding who and what it is that we vote for in our elections, going all the way down to local governance. Okay? I believe that, no matter what, there's going to be those people out there that will look to their kings, to provide for the common misery of us all. But if we fight and stand together and make wise choices in who and what we vote for, we will make possible the common good for all Americans. It's not easy. It's difficult. But it's something that we've got to do. And we have to recognize it more now than ever before, folks. Nothing worth having is ever easy. And this is going to be hard. But really, if you think about it, it's really not that hard. Look at what's going on around us. And then connect the dots. What are you going to vote for? It's on us. We're the future. And together, united in purpose and in faith, we can stop this madness. And, should we fail in this immediate endeavor? Should the harder path be forced upon us? God help us. Because He's going to be the only one that can.
Yoo-hoo! I'll make you famous.